I came originally to Myrtle Beach in 1981. Me and my father bought a condo here. He permanently retired here in 1988. And I've been here permanently since 2006 when I came down to run the Market Common project. And I've come to love this town like everybody else here, but I've also come to be disgraced with the operations of our city. And that's why I want to run for mayor, to change some of the operations that are going on here. We got a man sitting here. We got somebody here that has been under the pressure of this city for I don't know how many, a year or two. They hired some private realtors to go and buy some property downtown, and under cover of a city-owned corporation, and decided they're gonna move the library there and buy people out. And if they don't want to buy it, if you don't want to sell to us, we're going to come and take your property away. That's just one example that's going on in this town. The other example is the runaway spending and the lack of spending in the right direction. Everybody knows we've got a crime issue in this town, we've got a public safety issue in this town, and it's not for the lack of trying, not for the lack of professionals we got in that field. It's for the lack of, our city council just hasn't funded the right staffing and the right pay for these guys. We need to change that. You know, last budget cycle, they were putting more money in for a couple more officers, and they struggled with balancing the budget. They didn't want to raise taxes, which would amount to about $11 for a $200,000 house over the year. So you know what they did? They raised your solid waste fees by $13.80. So they're great at raising fees. They don't want to raise taxes, and I don't want to raise taxes. But what they didn't do, they didn't even look in on the other expenditures of the city and say, what don't we need? What don't we need? We need to look at all that kind of stuff. Just this morning, another $20 million of bonds are going out the door. Wasn't even discussed in the last budget cycle. So I've seen what's been going on. And I see two major issues in the city that need to be addressed right away. One is the public safety issue. And the other is the way we go about approving developments and economic progress in this town. It seems like we're spending too much time picking the winners and losers and putting roadblocks up for everybody. Another thing that's lacking in this town is full transparency. You know, you can go to the city website and you can find minutes of city council meetings. If you're interested in the ones from 18 months ago, you can get those right away. So we're what is it, 2017? We don't even have minutes online. We don't have the meetings online. We've got meetings at 2 in the afternoon. Nobody can go to the meetings. There's no transparency in the town. It's got to change, and I will change that if I'm the mayor. These guys have been in office, I don't know how long, 12 years for the mayor, and he wants to do another 4. And what's happened in the last 12 years? Well, we built a boardwalk. It's a nice boardwalk. Matter of fact, today they're refinancing it. There's $7.3 million in balance on it. They want to refinance it for $9 million, so you go figure that. The other thing is representation in the city. We need single-member districts. Right now, everybody's elected at large. I propose we do some kind of combination of single-member districts and a few at large to try to even out the flow of the power in this town. I'm willing to ask questions, or is this, I don't know, Johnny, is this a question and answer thing?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
How many trips to China are you planning if you become mayor?
If you could repeat the question so everybody can hear it.
The question was, how many trips to China I plan on taking? 0.
Thank you.
You know, getting back to my idea about consolidating some city agencies and what I see as a roadblock to development, they are picking and choosing winners and losers, and you know they put all their eggs in that basket for this Chinese investment thing, and I haven't seen any of it come to fruition. And quite frankly, you know, we've got to keep our eyes out on those golf courses. The grass might be starting to grow a little long. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'll let my wife go first.
Well, I've got a couple. So, you know I live in the county.
Yes, I do.
And you know my hot button.
I do.
I don't even have to say it out loud, but the current mayor made it clear to me that he had no need for those people over in Carolina Forest, that he wished we had never moved there. He's done nothing, as far as I'm concerned, except to build
First of all, we're gonna need some wall builders down in Texas. We can send John Rhodes down there. My position on the parking is, or first of all, my position on people in the county, we're all one community here. Although we are a city, it's a different a government jurisdiction. The people of this county support this city, and I'm well aware of that. Getting into the parking issue, I think we need a good comprehensive parking plan that addresses everybody that's a resident of this county, everybody that's a resident of this city, whether there's residential areas or commercial areas. I think the city can come up with a series of open, free, lit parking spaces and parking lots along the whole 9 miles of this beach someplace. There's no reason we can't. We don't need to be telling people don't come because you gotta pay a $15 parking fee. I'd rather that $15 go into a small business pocket and generate business in this town. The roadblocks up there on the city line. Nobody wants to come in and pay that. Not only that, all that money is going into the Downtown Redevelopment Corporation, which is privately owned by the city, and it's also a corporation that by their bylaws has a treasurer who's by law is the city manager. It's also a corporation that will look in the citizen's face and says, we have nothing to do with eminent domain, while their treasurer is sitting in the same room. That's got to stop.
Thank you.
Gotta look out at Caroline Forest, I see all the growth out there. Look at 544 and 17, and I see all the growth out there. And I see how Myrtle Beach is growing. Why isn't downtown Myrtle Beach growing?
Again, they're picking the winners and losers, and it's a process of development. You know, if you're a developer, and if you're not on the inside, do you want to go out and spend, you know, if you're going to develop a big block downtown, do you want to spend a couple $100,000 on a try to go in front of a board that is subjective and says, I don't like the color of your shoelaces? That kind of stuff's got to stop. We need clear regulations and rules, and it's a subjective board. I've sat in those meetings, and in my honest opinion, I would say probably 90% of what that board does could be done on an administrative staff level if we had clear, written out and approved regulations for signage and certain type of development issues, and a professional staff member could review an application and see that it's within compliance with the regulations and issue a permit and let these people go and build their stuff. There's a lot of things. That's one of the agencies I would consolidate, get rid of the DRC, consolidate the CAP function within the planning department, and have a very concise, written out planning development process that everybody can go to and everybody can go through, and it's just fair across the board. And it's got to be collaborative. You know, the city needs to get out of the development business. They just need to be the guidelines of what our zoning is. You know, government is for public safety first, and it's for protection of your private property rights. And we're doing a terrible job in this town for that. So those are two main things we need to change and clean up in the city. Thank you. Yes?
I'm sure there's a lot of good things that the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce does. Its relationship with the city council is quite controversial. If you were elected mayor, would you foresee that same type of relationship that exists now? Or if not, what would you see different?
My simple answer is, nobody knows what that relationship is and has to be exposed, okay? You know, we're sending $32 million over there every year, and there's a lot of questionable things that are going on that come out. First thing to take care of that the questionable, or the questions on the table, is open the books and have a complete independent third-party audit of that whole operation. We're going to give them $32 million. It's got to be an open book policy. You realize that that's almost 15% of the city budget goes over to the Chamber of Commerce?
That's insane.
And money from the county goes into there too.
That's in, above and beyond the 32 million, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when we.
The Surfside gets the money too.
When we pay the hospitality tax to a restaurant out in the county, that goes into the pot
Right.
that sends $1 million to the chamber
Right.
every year. And we don't know where it goes.
My name's Andrew. My wife and I own house parks, downtown, superblock area, whether eminent domain or threatening eminent domain upon us. For the past 10 plus, almost 12 years, we put everything into this very kind, honest business. The city now is
business license tax fee structure has to be looked at. It's regressive to these small businesses, and we're hurting ourselves. I mean, the small business is what's going to make this town thrive again. I heard a story just 2 days ago from a gentleman who's opening a store in the Market Common area, and he 2 months ago went down to get his license to make sure the zoning's right. He's spending a lot of money on the store, and he put in these temporary signs in his window, coming soon. The zoning administrator had to remind him that those signs weren't approved. You know, I hear stories about small businesses being stepped on in this town way too many times. If you're not part of the pack, you're part of the problem, and that's got to stop. I can tell you, if I was mayor, I'd stop that operation downtown 5 Points in a heartbeat. Whatever I could do under my power. Here again, the city does not need to be the developer, and that's what they're doing down there. They don't need to be the developer. We hear that term in this town a lot. It's working. Well, the police department came out and said it's working. It's keeping people off the street. Well, of course, you know, the barricades there, you can't walk in the street, but it's keeping people from getting hit by cars. You know, Father's Day weekend, I don't think I heard anybody get hit by a car. So, and I think I heard one of the businessmen downtown tell the mayor that, you know, you put all these barricades up, but you didn't put them everywhere in the city. If you were so worried about people getting hit by cars, how come we don't have barricades everywhere in the city? I think the barricades being put up was not well thought out. It certainly probably helped law enforcement for a bit, but that's, you know, permanent barricades, that just sends the wrong message.
What can we do in this whole area of the city and county as well to get more police officers without really overtaxing?
Government needs to get back to their basic function. We need to look at all the other expenditures. The answer to getting more law enforcement and public safety is not just to raise taxes. There's other sources of funds. Let's look how we're spending the rest of our money. Okay, we talked on a few of them today about some of these 11.5% taxes that are going to Columbia or going to the Chamber of Commerce. There's other ways to skin this cat, and it doesn't have to be taxes. I want everybody to know that, you know, I don't have a magic button in my pocket when I get elected mayor, but one of the things I want to do is get a lot of retired professionals, people in this community and throughout the county to come together and sit in on different idea groups and find the right answers that work for everybody. Because I'm not the one that's going to be up there with the right answers. I've got a lot of ideas, but I need all of you. I need people to be actively involved. You know, again, on the law enforcement thing, I've asked numerous times the city council, how come you're not engaging the hundreds of retired law enforcement people in this county in the Grand Strand? And I kind of always get a show off if they're not interested. Well, that's not true. And there's over 900 people, members of the local SHIELD, which is a retired law enforcement organization. And I've already reached out to them, and I know a few of them, and they're telling me a different story. You know, we need more boots on the ground. Nobody's asked the question about what we're going to do about the drug problem. I don't think there's any set answer we can do to keep the thugs out of our streets, but we sure as heck can keep them uncomfortable by putting more policemen on the street and make them more visible. And we have to do that.
Again, one last comment, if you don't mind. Since I'm soon to be forced to retire, if you need a retired professional to help you out, if you get elected, give me a call.
We're going to try to keep you in business, Andy, because if I get elected, the redevelopment's going to go on. It's going to be an open process. Hopefully